children see me seeing them is because I see them in their authentic element of being joyful.
Monica Browning is the founder of Home and Harmony Parenting, known as the Real Parent Coach. With over 20 years of experience in education, she's helping parents transform chaos into connection through her 7 pillars of parenting alignment and the P.A.R.E.N.T method. I cannot think of anything more important in the world than being a parent.
We're in a pandemic of disconnection. And so this is another reason why I've created these methods. Who am I being as a leader and a role model and a lighthouse for my children, for them to trust me? If we could just drop our stuff and just play with our kids for the first 5 minutes, you would see a dramatic shift in the relationships.
Even if people just did the one step, it would make a big difference, wouldn't it? I mean,
there is no single effort more radical in its potential for saving the world than a transformation of the way we raise our children.
Hello and welcome to Radical TV. I am Shawna Smith. Joining me here today is Monica Browning. She is the founder of Home and Harmony Parenting and known as the Real Parent Coach. With over 20 years of experience working with children from infant-toddler specialist and preschool teacher to teaching at the college level, Monica blends her academic background with her lived wisdom as a single mom of 2 teenage daughters. She's the author of The Connected Parent and creator of the 7 Pillars. Hello and welcome to Radical TV. I am Shawna Smith. Joining me here today is Monica Browning. She is the founder of Home and Harmony Parenting and known as the Real Parent Coach. With over 20 years of experience working with children from infant-toddler specialist and preschool teacher to teaching at the college level, Monica blends her academic background with her lived wisdom as a single mom of 2 teenage daughters. She's the author of The Connected Parent and creator of the 7 Pillars of Parenting Alignment and the P.A.R.E.N.T method, frameworks designed to help families move from disconnection to deep connection. Monica's mission is to change the parenting paradigm by guiding parents to raise children who feel seen, safe, and worthy. Hello, Monica.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
It's so exciting. I have been so enthused to chat with you because I cannot think of anything more important in the world than being a parent.
It's the biggest job on the planet.
I had no idea parenting was going to be as challenging as it is. Not that I don't love it.
Yes.
But there are days I think, oh, no one told me that this was going to come up. What should I say?
Exactly. And even coming from the classroom as a teacher, it's totally different when you're at home with your own children. So there is, it's very multifaceted. And yes, it's a lot. It's the biggest job.
Yes. You have such a history. You know, you spent 20 years working with preschoolers and teaching children, and you have your own children. You have such a long history, and you've kind of said you've been living a certain way your entire life. And I love, we talked a little bit off air already, but tell us a little bit about what you're up to and what you're doing.
Thank you. Yes. Well, like I said, because I'd been in the classroom for so many years, I kind of learned how to connect with children. I always have been just naturally gifted with children, and I'd been babysitting at a very young age. My mom would always tell me that I was better with children than she was. And so it's always been just a natural gift of mine. And then when I got into the classroom, I started learning, obviously there's multiple personalities, multiple diverse backgrounds, and every child comes from a different home environment. And so learning all of this to manage a classroom of preschoolers, before infant-toddler, but before infant care, up until the 2s, the 3s, and then going into the 4s, there is this rhythm, and that's part of Home and Harmony. Is kind of I'm sort of kind of putting everything under the umbrella of Home and Harmony that I've learned and experienced. And then when I had my own children, I left the classroom when I became a mom. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to be a full-time mom, which is actually, I think, harder than going to work is being a full-time mom. And so I didn't necessarily, I mean, I knew what I was doing, but to actually put the curriculum into place now with the connected parent path and through the parent method is when I'm really dissecting it so I can help other people, um, give them the framework that I've learned, that the success. And this is the proven evidence of things that I've worked in the classroom and things that I've worked at home. So I can bridge the gap. I used to call it, I would bridge the gap from my classroom to home. And now that I'm out of the classroom, but I have this arena because I really want people to believe in the fact that there is another way to have this, a connected relationship with our children from every age and stage.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing to me that you learned at a young age that you had kind of a gift and a knack. Even your mom said that.
yeah, it's true. And even still now, like today or not today, but when I go out and about, well, it was today when I see other children, because children see me and I see them and they see me seeing them, if that makes sense. So they are very visible, like, kind of in different times, where children are to be seen and not heard, or not seen, and, to kind of be quiet and squash their joy. And so I've always been connected with children on this kind of soul level. Like I can see, that's the intuitive piece to all of this, besides the education and the experience. But it is a gift. I have a way of, like the child whisperer, I've been nicknamed sometimes, in different areas of life. I've been the child whisperer. And
Yeah, and one way to reach those children is through their parents. And what a way to help children by educating their parents. You've written a book, and I know you have it with you. In that you said, your 7 pillars are in that book, kind of a foundation for what you're up to.
yes, yeah, the connected parent path. It's the 7 pillars of alignment, and that's what I had been living. And now that it's actually, kind of concrete, that it's the daily practice of how to grow through the ages and stages. And that starts with awareness is the first pillar, because we can't change ourselves or our situation if we're not aware of an issue or a problem, or we want a different way. And so that's the first pillar is awareness. There's 7 pillars. And I feel like when we're in alignment with these pillars, life is a little simpler, or like the things that seem challenging kind of soften. And, and the next pillar is responsibility. So once we become aware, then it's our responsibility to actually implement some sort of change. And I go a little deeper into, it's a really easy book to read. So it's a path.
Yeah, I mean, simple things and small changes can make big differences in ourselves. And then that, emanates out through the children as well. And so under this umbrella, you've also have a unique magic method that you've created. Tell us what your method is.
Yes, and that is the parent method. So that's the acronym, or the parent method is P.A.R.E.N.T, P meaning presence. And that's kind of like the awareness piece. It's like when we dive deep into the presence and being present with our children, and with our partners, and really this translates to relationships. But we are the leaders, we are the guide. So if we want, our children to pay attention to us, we need to pay attention to them. It's a kind of, there's a level there. And A is authenticity. So when we are authentic, when we're being ourselves instead of trying to change everything, when we're really authentic. I know we talked a little bit about this too, is that when, a lot of times I say, I don't know, I'm being real with them. I'm being honest with them. And when I am honest with them and I'm authentic with them, it gives, with them meaning the children, it gives them the permission to be their authentic selves. That they don't have to change, because, we say we love our children unconditionally. And And at the same time, we have these expectations that if they don't meet those expectations, then they feel it. It's all energy. So they feel this unspoken, oh, I let them down, or, the parents, they let the parents down, or they need to do this to make the parents feel good. So it kind of gets a little tricky, but it's all very nuanced. Yeah. The P, the A, the R, I have to spell it out in my head. P-A-R-E, R is rituals. And that goes along with my pillars of consistency. When we have rituals, it's like traditions. When we have rituals with our family and our children, that creates a secure attachment because they start to, which is the T is trust. We're building trust with the rituals. And then the children get to look forward to things. It's the consistency and the rituals that make a difference. It really does make a difference. And E is emotional intelligence. When we have these emotional, intelligent children, they learn how to manage their emotions because we're learning how to manage our emotions, and they learn how to relate to other people. Like social skills are so important to be able to function in society, right? And we're in a pandemic of disconnection. And so this is another reason why I've created these methods, is because my intention here is to reconnect families and reconnect children. And so we can develop a healthier society that is emotionally intelligent. And then N is nurturing. We need to come back to nurturing our children and nurturing ourselves. And when we give the love that we always wished we had, whether it's, from a partner or from our parents, when we nurture our children, it's in turn, it's nurturing ourselves, and we're healing. So it's, and then trust, T, when we're building trust, then they learn to trust us, and they will share with us that they know we will always be there. Hopefully I explained that well, but there's so many nuances here, but the parent method is really to reconnect us in a way that the pillars actually support that acronym.
Yeah. You mentioned that it's energy, and kids, the energy doesn't lie with anybody, but I'll tell you what, who really picks up on that? Children.
100%. 100% the children. So they feel it. So when we come home, when we're stressed and we have all of our, to-do lists and the shoulds and the could'ves and the emails to get back to, and our calendar, it's like, blah, 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 blah. That's our energy is all ramped up. And then they come home from school and we are like, oh, we need to do the dishes and dinner and da, 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 da. And they're just like, whoa, right? That's a repellent. They don't want to connect with us in that regard because they feel our energy. But if we're able to be present, the P of parenting is taking that pause and teaching ourselves to not react to everything that they're doing, is because we're pausing and we're being present in the moment. And we're kind of, every time in our life it's a new transition. We come home from work, we're transitioning into being home. They come home from school, they're transitioning into being at home. So it's all of those moments that we get to be present in that moment, and then take the next step into what the next part of the day or the evening, or homework and chores and all the things that add up that really disconnect us if we're not practicing these methods and these pillars.
Yeah. And even if people just did the one step, it would make a big difference, wouldn't it? I mean,
a huge difference. I always go back to mealtime, but even just the one step of coming home and I like to use, there's so many things to say, but when we come home, if we could just drop our stuff and just play with our kids for the first 5 minutes, if we just did that one thing, you would see a dramatic shift in the relationships, because they want our attention more than anything. And we are so busy doing everything else that we feel like we don't have time to do that. And then we miss it. We miss the moment. Mm-hmm. But if we could just do that one piece of presence, everything else would shift. And then I also link it into mealtime, because I feel like every mealtime is an opportunity to reconnect. And in the pandemic of disconnection, we're so tied to our screens And I have to say, if we drop everything and we play with our kids for 5 minutes without the phone nearby, that would be even better. Or the screen, whatever it is that we use.
Yes. Yes, it's amazing. And I mean, like I said, if just you said if you just did the P part, you have such a complex, beautiful system. So if you do it all, I mean, just imagine what that relationship and that connection would be like. What people try to do this, what do they usually get wrong? Is there something, when people try to make things better, is there something that you notice that maybe, hey, nah, that's one thing where you get hung up on? Is there something that you see?
Yeah. And again, it's energy. So we have good intentions, but our energy behind it is usually not healed yet. So it's an expectation that if, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play with my kid for 5 minutes and then everything's going to be fine. But if you just do it that one time, we have this expectation that it's going to change overnight. And it didn't get to where we were overnight. So I like to use the analogy of like abs, like going to the gym. Like you're not going to run a marathon in one day. You have to practice. And so it does take time, but it's possible. So I think that there's this misconception that we're going to do the right thing and they're going to follow and then it's all going to be fine. But we have to rebuild the trust. And that trust is the presence. It's the showing up. It's being authentic. It's apologizing when we mess up, because we do. Instead of blaming them like, oh, well, they didn't clean their room, so it's their fault. It's like we have to be able to recognize where we are in the process and forgiving ourselves. And that's another one of my pillars is compassion and grace. It's like we need to be able to give them. That's part of the N is the nurturing. So they're all support each other. So if we give ourselves that compassion and grace, they feel that. And then it transfers into them, giving them compassion and grace. So I think that it's, that might be where we get it wrong is that we think that we also think that like they might be trying to give us a hard time, but they're having their own hard time. So I think that's another thing where we might get it wrong.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that, they're giving me a hard time. You're right. They're going through a hard time. Just the other day, my daughter said something about, a level of trust to me. She said, I don't trust that you're going to get this to the school in time today. And I just looked at her and I said, thank you for telling me that. Like, I
Right.
appreciate you saying that you don't trust that I'm going to do this.
Yes.
And it makes me take a look at myself. And I just thought, wow, I'm so glad that she can say that to me,
Exactly. Yes. That's a beautiful connection where she feels safe enough to say that, versus maybe just, storming off and feeling angry and slamming the door because she doesn't feel like she can actually say what she needs to say. And that's one of my pillars also is communication. So it is really important that we build this foundation of trust that they can say what they need to say. And I also have another saying that, say what you mean and mean what you say. And it's giving them permission because you can recognize that and also acknowledge that she said that to you. And that's really beautiful. And then you can even take it further and reassure her that you will get it done. And because they don't know the gazillion things that parents do either.
Right. Oh, it was a real embarrassing moment for me, but I was like so grateful because I just thought, no, now I understand where you're coming from. And what makes your approach different from anything else out there?
Great question. Well, what I've learned is that most of the programs or the difference is that people are focusing on changing the behavior of the child. And they're looking at the child as, why are they doing that? And it's about us. I mean, it's when we change our behavior, when we can recognize our behavior, when we can be authentic and apologize and recognize. So it's a combination of both, but it starts with the grown up. So like I was telling, off camera beforehand, I'm in some other groups and there's this one group that it's a picky eater group. And one of the complaints was that the child won't eat anything except for the chips they give her. And I was thinking, Well, that's a problem that we've created, right? They will only eat the chips that they give them because we only give them the chips that they will eat. So it's you know, it and that takes also it takes a lot of patience, which is another pillar, but it takes practice to be consistent with those boundaries. I mean, to not give the chips. So again, it's we need to really like pull back the veil, like you said. It's no embarrassment because it's a growth process. Like we've never been parents before. We're learning how to do this. We've never been this age and stage of our own lives. We're learning how to do this. We've never been a parent to a 10-year-old or to a 15-year-old or a 2-year-old before. So it's like it's about us. And my children often say, like, Mom, it's not about you. Like what they're going through is not about me. And what I'm going through is not about them. And so that's where the difference is. And so my program really helps to pull back the veil on how are we showing up. And that's the presence piece and the awareness piece and the response, and then taking responsibility for it, right? It's like, how are we showing up and how can we be leaders and the lighthouse for these children? That, going back to my favorite quote, which really anchored me into this whole field of work, is because Marianne Williams said it best: there is no single effort more radical in its potential for saving the world than a transformation of the way we raise our children. And that's my global mission. And it starts at home. It starts with me. It's how am I showing up? Who am I being as a leader and a role model and a lighthouse for my children, for them to trust me and for them to have the rituals that we have, and for me to be present with them like they deserve. And I was just hearing also, it's like, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? So if we don't love ourselves and we don't show up for ourselves, how can we expect our children to do that?
Mm-hmm. And you said that something too so powerful, like what they deserve. They do.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really true. And just the other day, or last night actually, my daughter went, I drove her and her friend to go do a school project, and then the other parent drove her home. And so she walked in the door and I just gave her a hug and I gave her a kiss, and she said thank you. And I said, oh, like, thank you for what? And she said, thank you for the hug. And I was like, because they feel the energy, they feel like, I was so happy to see her and I'm glad she had a good time. And that was so great that she got a ride home, and welcome home. It's like, and I used pets as like, I don't know, there's the dog whisperer, which is how I adopted the child whisperer. And he talks about that with their pets. Like, your dogs are always happy to see you. They greet you at the door. They give you all the love. Right. And cats, they scratch your leg. They want your attention. And then you pick them up and you give them, a cuddle and a tight hug and attention. And then they're happy. They go on their way. Children, we're mammals. Children and humans want that just as much as the pets want that. Right. So I say, I use that analogy a lot because it reminds me, when we're present for our children, it makes all the difference. I mean, sometimes I'm just walking by my daughter's room. She's almost 16 now. And she'll give me a little, come in and pat the bed, sit down.
Aww.
And it's because I've been practicing that for a really long time. I practice being present and sitting in the room and waiting for them. It just reminded me because I'm waiting for them to share with me. And what you said before, the question was, what do we get wrong? A lot of times, we do the interrogation, or one word answers. How are you? Fine. What are you doing? Nothing. When are you coming home? Later. What we're doing wrong is we're interrogating them. What we need to do is just be present with them. And then they will feel that trust and that safety, and that they'll feel seen enough to share on their own. And I have another example, is because I've taught myself to say, am I just listening? Or do you want some support or feedback, or to, role play a solution? And so my daughter was telling me, a situation that was happening, and I just sat there and I was listening. And I said, wow, that sounds hard. And then she said, well, and I said, well, what? And she said, well, you always say, am I just listening, or do I want some support? And I was like, oh, okay. Am I just, and she's like, no, tell me, so now she's asking for support, because I'm not just I'm not pushing it on, or like I'm the parent, so I know better. Like, no, not in all cases. I mean, yes, we're there to keep them safe and protected, right? And sheltered and all of those things, those hierarchy of needs. Yes, that is our primary job in that regard. But the social emotional piece, nobody teaches us this.
Mm-mm.
We're just out there like learning, and and there's so much to preparation of like what to expect when you're expecting,
Yeah.
all of those things. But then once you have the kid, it's like, oh, you're supposed to just know what to do. Like, no, the only way we know what to do is because of the way we were raised. So we either do that
Oh,
or the opposite, usually,
yeah.
right? So I say
Yeah.
like that's a spectrum of neither is usually a healthy way.
You're right. You're right. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to start a family and I'm going to have children and everything is going to be perfect. I'm going to raise
Right.
it perfectly. And it does not go like that. And that
That,
was a really big shock to me.
of course, yes. And like for everybody. And it's not like a linear thing, like, right? We get married, we have children, everything is happy and hunky and dory. And that's another misconception, is that we think, oh, if we have children, that will solve the problem. It's like, that's one of our greatest triggers. It's not, it doesn't solve the problem. It triggers everything, because now we have these humans, that are pushing all of our buttons, that we like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that existed inside me until. That's why I say, like, it starts with us. That's the
Yeah.
difference in my program. And I want to be able to help parents. Like, I've
Yeah.
invested a lot of time and money and I've investment into myself. Especially, being a single parent. It's like, I want to be the best version of myself for them, to be a leader for them, so they can see how not only a strong and capable woman can be, or, that I identify as a woman, obviously. So, but just that we can heal from all of the lifiness.
Yeah, I know. If you want to find your triggers, have some children. That was, I was like, oh wow, wow, what is inside of me that is bringing this out of me? It's been so interesting. But what would you say is the biggest lie that, parents have been told, that you've discovered is completely false? Would you say what is the biggest lie, do you think? I feel like there's a many, but
Oh, I know. Gosh, I know we covered some of them. The biggest lie, like the perfect life, like there is no
yeah,
perfect. I think that's the biggest lie, that we think that we're going to have, and that was another chapter in the first book with Radical Freedom, is connection, not perfection. That was the chapter that I wrote, because that's when I really realized that my connection with my kids is far more important than anything of perfection. And then, like, there is no perfect. So I've been trying to, do it all and be it all and whatever. And that gets nowhere fast. That just breeds exhaustion. Actually, I was on another podcast and she asked me the same thing about single parenthood. And she said that a lot of her audience said that, they're so exhausted all the time, and parents are exhausted. And I was like, well, that's not a lie. I mean, we are exhausted, and it's a choice. Like, I choose to be present with my kids. Like, I choose to listen to the music that they want to hear, so it can connect us. I choose to watch the show that they want to watch. Like, I choose to do the things, like, even if I'm exhausted, it actually fuels my energy when I know that I'm connecting with them in a different way. So yeah, I think the biggest lie is that, it's going to be perfect, or, there's some sort of easy way.
And you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the connection to God, I feel like, kids have such a close connection to God. They come out of the womb and they're so much closer than we are, where, we get all disjointed and whatever as we move through life. But I feel like just listening to them, they're telling us things all the time, of they see things so differently. And I feel like they can help course correct if you literally listen sometimes.
Oh, 100%. Children are the closest, they are the closest source to God. It's until the human, the adult, the grown up, I just kind of say we're all little kids in these grown up bodies, but it's until the adult actually conditions the child to move away from source, to move away from their own intuitions. Is because one of my it's in the book, but when we say it was like, you're be careful, be careful, be careful. Or I was at the grocery store the other day and the kid was standing up in the little cart and she's like, you're going to fall, you're going to fall, you're going to fall, you're going to fall. And it was like, we're conditioning them to move away from their intuition. Children are balanced on their own. They spin around in circles because they're recalibrating their bodies. They roll around and they express their emotions until we're so uncomfortable with them that we make them stop crying. It's like they are teaching us how to really process everything. But again, if we're an adult and we don't like the server that we have, we're not going to throw food at them like a child might, right? Because we're not allowed to do that. So we will learn to repress all of our emotions, and that turns into disailments in our bodies because we're not in our free expression. And so it is a practice to get back to that. It's a practice to actually allow ourselves to cry. It's a practice to actually feel anger. It's a practice to actually feel sadness and grief and moving through that. So children do that naturally. They do that on their own. It's really the grown-up that conditions themselves because of society and usually experiences that they've had that have stripped them away of being that close to source. It's a remembrance. So we remember when we are, that's why people often come back to meditation, because it quiets the mind. Our mind is thinking how many thousands, 90,000 thoughts, a day or a minute, or it's a profound amount of time of thinking. But children don't have a logical brain. That's why they're so in the moment. That's why they live in the present moment. They're not living in the future or in the past. Like they don't have any concept of that kind of time. It's the grown-up that does that. And so, yes, when we can really listen and really, that's why I say children see me seeing them, is because I see them in their authentic element of being joyful. And like they're born joyful. It's the grown-up that squashes the joy most of the time.
So sad. And sometimes we don't mean to, but it's just the way it goes.
Oh, of course. That's the thing. None of it's on purpose. I mean, I would expect it to not be on purpose, right? We don't know any different. That's the thing. It's a conditional, it's society, it's a conditioned society. Like everybody's doing it. So it's not, there's a smaller percentage that are actually have had this much time. I mean, unless you've really been a teacher in an environment where you're around a lot of children all the time, no one really knows.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And you get away from it for so long, and then you have children, especially, and then it's like, oh, whoa, what is going on? When did you realize that, what you knew needed to be shared with others? Take us to that. What led you to be helping others?
Well, it's always been on my heart, actually. Like I said, from a really young age, I always wanted to be a teacher and work with kids. And then I think the older my children got, and then being a single mom, is that I would hear parents complain about their kids a lot. And I never really could fit into that. I mean, yes, there are hard times, of course, and I'm not perfect and I've messed up a lot. And I still have such an amazing relationship with my children that I always dream that people can have that same relationship with their children. So I was really kind of like dreams, I think, that came through that, again, quieting the mind of really feeling what's on my heart, that it's so important. Again, going back to the quote from Marianne Williamson, is that, when we can change the way we raise our children, we can change the world. And that starts with us. And I really want to help people to have this relationship with their children, and that it's never too late. Kind of the relationship that I have with my parents. And even if, your parents aren't here, in this physical level, that you can still appreciate, the relationships that we do have in our lives, and make them more just a more authentic relationship, not a surface level.
Authentic is huge. I know you work with parents, obviously, but do you feel called to serve a certain type of parent? Is it anybody, and who do you ideally love to work with?
I can work with any parent. I've worked with a diverse group of people, as with the parents from my classroom, during parent conferences and things like that. I most relate to the single parent and the co-parent relationship, and because that's been my life for the last, at least 10 years. I do want single parents to know that there is help, there is support, there is another way than to being just frazzled and disconnected with their children, and they're just off doing their own thing. And, everybody does their own thing. I've kind of heard that scenario also. So, yeah, there's a lot.
When someone goes through your complete program, what kind of transformation can they expect?
They can expect a level of clarity, a level of peace, a level of deep, profound love for themselves and for their children. They can expect a greater relationship with themselves and with their children, and a greater relationship with really everyone, because it's applicable to everything. It's just the foundation of it starts at home. And so when you deepen your relationships at home, it definitely, there's a ripple effect into every other area of your life.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a specific story of a client that you would like to share, that maybe you saw the transformation take place and how it impacted the child or anything like that?
Yeah. So I have, and this is worldwide. I have a client that is across the pond, she likes to say, and her daughter, I believe, was 5, maybe in kindergarten, and also from a co-parenting situation of a single mom. And there was some attention difficulties at school with the child. Again, at home, kind of loose, not rules, but no real consistency, kind of wanting to give our children the freedom to make choices, but hard going back and forth to mom and dad's house, different at dad's house, different at mom's house, and kind of all of those things. And so we've had several one-on-one appointments, and after giving her the framework of the pillars and then the parent method, um, right away she noticed that there was better attention at school, less tantrums at home, loving her routine, like bedtime routine, loving the connection, the time, like dinner time together with mom. So really quick transformation, because she was starting to implement a little bit more of boundaries. And that's another situation, that we think that we want to give our children freedom, but at the same time, they really thrive in structure, and that also creates trust. And that secure attachment is that they know the transition of coming, so they know that we have dinner at 5 o'clock every night. I mean, I'm just using that as an example. I mean, it can change, but they're consistent. We have dinner, bath, and books. It's like they know the routine, and that's how it anchors into their safety. And one even simple tweak in her schedule was, she couldn't understand why her daughter wanted to read the same book at night every night. And I was letting her know that that's okay, that the children want to do that. It's very common, in fact. And that is, again, it's a secure attachment. And so we read the same book, even though we're annoyed and we read that book 10,000 times, right? And again, that starts with us. Like, no, I want to read a different book. Well, it's their secure attachment. So let's read that book to them and bring another book. So we have what's fulfilling their emotional need, and we're introducing something new. So she said, just with that one shift in her energy, like not getting upset about wanting to read the same book, was a world of difference. So again, a lot of people say, oh, I don't have time to make, to do things differently, but they're subtle tweaks, and it is an energy behind it all too. So just little tweaks, like you said, even if we could just do that one thing of putting the phone down. They see that, they feel that.
The phone is a big thing, having it in your hand and not being present. And is there a timeline when you work with someone? How much time does it typically take, or how does that work?
Yeah, so again, it's very nuanced. It depends on each child, and each situation and where you're at. My Parent Path program is an 8 week course. It's a full 6 month program, but the first 8 weeks are weekly coaching, and then the other months are support within the groups, each other. Because again, we're building community, we're building connection, and we're building the awareness that we're not alone. Like parents, there was another study that I read in the New York Times that 47% of parents are keeping all of their problems a secret. Like again, it's like a perfection facade, right? But everybody is going through something. So, but if you want to dive deep into the pillars, it would be the parent framework is 8 weeks. I've had success with 3 sessions. I mean, as few as 3 sessions can give great results, great transformation, deeper connection. And again, it depends on, what are we willing to invest in ourselves? And I always say again, like we invest in a mechanic for our car, we invest in a nutritionist for our health, we invest in, the bookkeeping, the accountant for our finances. It's like, it's time that we invest in our family and we really connect to what matters the most. It's our relationships.
And it's almost like this is the place where we spend the least time investing because we think we just are parents and this is what we do.
Yes, or like we'll figure it out, and then we come, and I have that in my book too. Is then we come as that old Cat Stevens song. So it's like, when you coming home, son, I don't know when. We'll get together then, and it just gives me chills every time. It's like we feel like it's just it's the least that we invest in is in our family, of where it does matter the most.
Yeah.
Or we go to church once a week for an hour. It's like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't translate into the daily.
No, it's a practice. It's a commitment. And it's obviously well worth, that commitment because this is, family is really all you have, really in many cases.
Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm. And how can people connect with you more? How can they find you? Show us the book. I know you have it in your hand. So that's
Oh yeah, this
one
is
of your books. The
yeah, this
Connected
is
Parent.
mhm. Yeah, the connected parent. And this actually, I painted this. The hummingbirds represents the superpower of a parent, because the hummingbird is the only bird that can fly and zigzag and hover and fly in the rain and upside down. This was actually a COVID project because I had this painting and I was looking for a cover for the book. And it all made sense to me. It was like, wow, hummingbirds are superpower. It's like what a parent does. They have to zigzag all around. So you can connect with me through the book. I have a link that we can share for a free chapter. Chapter 3 is Pillar 3, Connection. I also have a YouTube channel at Home and Harmony Parenting. I'm on Instagram at Home and Harmony Parenting. And I'm Monica at homeandharmonyparenting.com.
And you'll soon have a tiny book out that talks about your parent method as well. And that will be out and available. So fairly easy to get. You must be on Facebook too. Maybe you said that.
I didn't, but I am. Yes, I do have a parenting Facebook page, and then I have my personal page that I do share parenting things on.
Perfect. And you are in the Radical Company, and I want to know what's changed in your business or life since working with the Radical Company that you maybe didn't expect.
Oh gosh. Well, what I didn't expect is the amount of, well, I guess I expected it, but I'm overjoyed, I guess, with the amount of support, not only on the business side of the coaching, but also on the transformation of who I've become into sharing my passion of this mission really in life. And so it's a perfect marriage, a perfect blend of getting like the how to and my why, because my why is so just deeply ingrained in me. Like my why is really to help the children and to create a better world for ourselves and our families and our homes, and the how they are so genius at. not only giving us the tools, but sharing all of their own experiences and what's worked and what hasn't worked, and just the personal investment that they give to each and every one of us is priceless.
It really is. And if you were talking to someone considering the Radical Company, what would you tell them about your experience?
Gosh, that it's really been the most impactful self growth journey I've ever been on. Like I said, I've invested a lot in myself and my healing and my growth and my journey and expansion, expanding my awareness of what I'm capable of doing and of who I'm capable of becoming and who I'm being in the world, and surrounding yourselves with people that also are high achievers that want to make the world a better place. I would say jump in as fast as you can if you want to learn even more about yourself and grow your business and start a project that you've had on your heart for a really long time. I think that that's another conditioning, is that we're conditioned to stay safe, in our whole lives. It's like, again, it's like, oh, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get a good job, and I'm going to have a perfect family, and all the things that it doesn't work out like that. So it's just so important to stay close to your dreams and then surround yourself with people that are making their dreams come true.
Yeah, that's so true. Well said. Monica Browning, what a joy to talk to you today about parenting. Look forward to reading about your parent method and learning more. And hopefully many parents will connect with you and get on a path that works better for them.
Yes. Thank you, Shawna. This has been such a delight. I love talking to you and sharing all of this. Yeah, it's so important. And I'm so grateful to have you here. And thank you for hosting me.
Absolutely. Thanks.